Hi everyone, this is just the first of a short series of video clips I'm going to make about Centrepin reels in general, and this is the first one I was going to show, and this one is called an Allcocks match aerial reel, made in about 1970s. It's called an aerial reel because it's got spokes on the front. So it's a six spoke aerial. You can get a 12 spoke aerial or a fully ventilated one, which has the back plate there where I'm touching my finger now. That's cut out and it's got another 6 spokes at the back, and they'd go in the middle of them ones. I mean, they're nice little reels, like, but they have the problems like these. They have their issues, really. And I wouldn't say this is a reel for a beginner, to be quite honest. I'm not saying you wouldn't be able to use it, but you'd finish up having bits of issues. The first one what I'll mention is the leg there. That's your leg, your reel foot leg. Because it's so short to the foot, when your foot is screwed onto your reel, you very often get the line wrapping around your foot. Much more so in windy conditions. If you're not experienced, it's a pain in the ass, to be honest. If you are experienced, but if you're not, it could put you off using a Centrepin for life because it's a proper nuisance. So the line layers being so high don't help either. You know, a combination of the line layers there being so high and that leg on the foot being so short, it kind of enhances the problem. Also, it's a narrow drum reel, which means I think this particular one, it's not an inch, is it? I'd say it's probably 3/4 of an inch, maybe a bit less, I'm not sure, never measured it, but it's got 12 line layers there, them pillars, and that's what your line's rested on when you've got your line on. So the problem with that is it can cause line stick, and line stick is when you've caught a decent fish, you've wound it in, let it go, whatever you're going to do with it, and then you go to take your next trot down the river. Very often your line will be stuck on the spool and it's bedded into the other line. So what you've got to do then, really, to combat that is, instead of even thinking about fishing, throw your floater and let it trot down the river and pull all the sticking points off, wind it back on, and then you're good to go again. But it is a nuisance, you know. Also, with line pillars like this, you get what you call like crinkly line, really, and it's like, because it's it's a bigger version, but it's like a 50p piece or a threepenny bit shape. You'll get like the line coming off in little sections, like, you know, it's like shaped like that, and yeah, it's a bit of an annoyance, really. But apart from that, that isn't a problem. But it is annoying. I'll just say about this as well, and this is I think it's pretty much with all the reels, that little L shape that comes out and then sticks up, that is and you've got a spring there, what you have to pull it against, that there, you pull that down. It's got like a little fork on it either side of them pins there in the boss centre thing goes in. You pull that down and then just pull it off your back plate, and that's how you remove the spool. That there is the ratchet cog, which, that little thing there, which is your pawl, when you switch your ratchet on, it presses it down onto that cog, which causes your clicking sound, right? So that's off now. Click it on. That's your ratchet. This other, switch that off. This other little cog here that one. That is for slowing the speed at which your spool rotates down. So if you're fishing in a swim where it's going fast and you're staying there for any period of time and you can't be bothered slowing it down with your, you know, with your thumb like that, you can use that. I'll just over tighten it there. You see? So you just fine tune that to the flow and the speed you want your float to go down. And that's basically all that is. Obviously there's your angles. Not a lot else to say about it really. I wouldn't say they're a beginner's reel. I wouldn't torture yourself with it. Oh, the other thing what I've not mentioned is that little screw in the centre there. See that? Put my thumbnail in that. Yeah. That is your centre boss screw. And that, the bottom of that on the inside of it, it actually rests on the top of that pin there. So it floats on that really. And what it is that if you tighten that up, it presses on that pin and it slows that the speed of the spool down again. Something like that, but this is just permanently done like until you alter it again. If you have it too tight, then it's useless really, it just cocks your trotting up. If you have it too slack, then when you put it back on the reel, or I'm saying when you put it back on, you do it when it's on, you'd have too much play between the two. I mean, as it stands there, there's nothing, is there? Also, you can get lateral play too, lateral movement, if you've got it too slack. So it's kind of just getting it at the right, you know, how you want it. I mean, that's set very light, that, you know, it would turn for a very, very light flowing water. Also with this particular reel, it's what you call a true pin. So it runs up the pin and bush, that's the bush part up here, and below obviously the pin. So it's floating on that and it runs on that. So it's more free running in that position, held horizontal. If you turn it upwards like that, it will slow down a lot quicker. And also, if you was, say you cast out your fishing, say you're doing that, you're just trotting down the river and you want to slow your line down without messing about, you can actually just turn it like that and that will slow it down. You know, it's like a little, see how it's slowing down more now? That's without faffing about, touching it with your finger or anything. Sometimes I'll play about and do that, like, you know. But you find these things out as time goes on. So that's all I've got really to say on that reel. I'm trying to think if there's anything else, and there's not that I can think of. So I'll leave it at that for that one. And I'll get another reel out. I think I'll get a 12 spool type reel out next and show you that. Okay folks, catch you again soon.